Hi guys.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
A lot has happened in the past 2 years.
Wait, what?
I want to take a moment and explain why I left YouTube.
Oh no.
It means that half the battle is over and won in Kiro's favor. He has not been proven guilty, therefore by US law he is, by process of elimination, innocent.
Are you fucking serious?
Much. Even if a lot of you dislike me, I can never dislike the fandom. There are a lot of things that need fixing, but this is a place I truly belong, and no one is gonna tell me otherwise. I know this video may not please everyone, but I'm moving forward with my content and my channel.
No, 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 no. Hey, what's going on, everybody? TujoPanda back in action. We're talking about something else today, and by something else, it's going to be furry drama related. So, gather around, boys and girls, because we're about to spill this tea. Okay, so, Kero the Wolf. You all remember him, right? He was that guy that appeared on Shane Dawson's interview. Basically a furry that was propelled to stardom overnight. Yeah, until Shane Dawson inevitably fell from fair graces because he was caught doing blackface and a whole bunch of other controversial shit as part of his earlier content, but that's not really a subject matter for this particular video. We're going to be focusing squarely on Kero the Wolf. Kero the Wolf, if you've been watching my channel for more than 5 minutes, you would know that I covered all the controversies surrounding him as a subject matter pretty extensively early on in my YouTube career. I saw things that you people would not believe. I did not see ships on fire off the shore of Orion, but I did see a lot of fucked up bullshit that I kind of wanted to pour bleach directly into my eyes to make me get the mental images that were burned in my skull out, but you know, I really wanted to come to the truth of the matter. I wanted to find out one way or the other if Kiro the Wolf was actually, in fact, innocent or guilty, and, well, I feel fairly confident in my findings. Some of you all might disagree with my sort of assessment of the situation, and that's fine. For right now, I'm going to focus on why we're talking about Kiro the Wolf today. Okay, so I was at work today, and it had been 3 hours since the video had been posted. I discovered that Kiro the Wolf had posted a return video. He was coming back to YouTube, and he was going to pick up right where he left off, and that all the haters could go suck an egg, because he was going to do what he loved best, and that was video editing and generating content for the furry fandom that he loves. KitTheSoulless also helped. He made a feel-goodsy video, basically saying that the hate, the cancel culture mantra of the furry fandom on Twitter these days is destructive, and that there are people out there that are suffering every day because of it. I can agree with KitTheSoulless on the overall message that he was trying to portray, but I couldn't help but feel that it was a cop-out for Kiro the Wolf to get off scot-free, when, like, 99.9% of us know for a fact that he's guilty. To what extent is up for debate. I'm just going to go ahead and say that the reason that I know that Kiro the Wolf is guilty of at least some of the allegations that have been levied against him is the fact that he did a house tour video a long time ago, and basically, you know, he was just blowing off some steam. His parents were renovating a particular property nearby. I think it was an extension of the house. It looked like part of a garage at one point in time, but at the same time, it was definitely, like, now part of the house. He walked through the whole, like, part of that area and was basically just showing off the fixtures and the decorum. It was nothing incriminating in that particular video, but what was incriminating was that a particular photo, or series of photos, were circulated online later that detailed somebody out of, like, camera shot engaging in sexual activity with an animal. And it looked like Koda to me. Granted, it's been a couple years since I actually looked at that photo, so maybe my memory's a little fuzzy. Could have been a dead deer for all I know. I know that Kiro the Wolf seems to love those, but yeah, like, what I will say is that the reason that photo is so significant is because the background matches entirely to the house tour they did. Okay, why is that significant? Well, as soon as it was pointed out, and people in the, like, you know, the overall furry fandom were pointing that out, Kiro the Wolf immediately deleted the video and never acknowledged it again. He would not mention, like, why he deleted the video. He would not mention ever having, like, done the house tour in the first place. He acted like it never even happened, and I believe an archive of it exists online. I haven't watched it for a little while. The video itself was nothing special. It's mostly just proof that either Kiro or somebody that Kero the Wolf knew was engaging in sexual behavior with an animal, like on his premises, okay? And I highly doubt his parents would be fine with some random stranger online coming over and, doing the hanky-panky with, like, Bambi, like, on their fucking, like, living room in, like, the guest bedroom of the house, I'm assuming. Alright, so I'm just taking the piss here, but it should, like, convey to you all that Kiro the Wolf hasn't exactly been transparent in his activities online. In fact, his whole handling of the whole situation from start to finish has basically been a slow-moving train wreck. And if you don't believe me, you can watch dozens upon dozens of videos that best, provide a series of updates and basically, provide a timeline of where this all began and where this is all today. They're probably out of date, though, but I'm sure other YouTuber commenters out there are going to be picking up on this fairly quickly. I did because, well, Kero the Wolf as a subject matter had a place on my YouTube channel. I had taken an interest in trying to be an internet sleuth and trying to connect the dots where, drama was occurring and to try to get to the truth of the matter. That is, try to be objective about it every step of the way. I was objective up until the point where Kiro the Wolf had basically, threw everybody that had tried to defend him under the bus and had deleted that video and did a lot of other things that were a little bit unusual, And where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not saying, absolutely beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt on some of the other things that he's guilty of, but the fact of the matter is his handling of everything that's happened year to date has not been good, alright? Anyway, you might also remember, not too long ago, I made a Kiro the Wolf's triumphant return to YouTube. That video, well, it turned out to be a dud, for the simple fact that Kiro the Wolf seemed to be testing the waters. He alludes to the fact that he's going to be returning to YouTube, but he did not, at the time. Anyway, that was several months ago. It really begged the question why he even made the message that he did. I know for a fact that he had 32 patrons on his Patreon that were supporting him, and various other people are actually still in active support of Kiro the Wolf. They do not think he engaged in any wrongdoing, and the fucked up thing is some people that do, they deep down they do believe that Kiro the Wolf did something, they don't care. They don't care that he engaged in sexual activity with animals. They don't care that they engaged in sexual activity with roadkill. They don't care that he, by his own admission in a chat, might have contributed to the death of his dog Coda, and acted like Coda was his boyfriend as a euphemism. Pretty fucked up shit. Alright, so I watched his return video twice to get a sense of what he was really talking about. I was trying to, read between the lines. I was trying to get a feel for it, and while I will say that his overall presentation of his return was fairly, professional, it couldn't help but feel smug and unreasonably self-assured for somebody that, after all of this bullshit over the past several years, would have the audacity to come out and say, once and for all, guys, I'm innocent. No, you dumb fuck. You weren't found guilty. That means that the police didn't find reason to arrest you because they couldn't prove that you engaged in any wrongdoing. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're innocent, and in the court of public opinion, there's enough material out there to definitely nail you to the wall with a 10-foot pole. But anyway, whatever. It's been 2 years. I guess he was banking on the idea that the furry fandom would forget about him and move on, or more realistically, that people would stop giving a shit about him, so the haters would be neutralized, and the people that were left would be the people that had never heard Kiro the Wolf as a name. They would grow to love him, or so we would hope in his mind, to regain that popularity and clout that he so desperately wanted. Alright, so I looked through the YouTube comments, kind of while the video was playing, because I was curious what the overall reaction from the community was, and I have to say it was fairly positive at the time that I viewed this. A lot of people were gushing about how the return of Kiro the Wolf had brought that glimmer of sunshine they so desperately needed back in their lives, and that they loved to have him back, and that they absolutely would stand by Kiro the Wolf no matter what happened. There was a particular emotion and feeling that was developing in my gut rather than say what I was feeling at the time, I'm just going to go ahead and play this clip over here so that you can all get a sense of what I was feeling.
Ooh, I've never felt such a strange combination of pity and indigestion.
Did y'all like that clip? I really liked it. What I don't like is the fact that fucking Kero the Wolf's back in action. Not that I would, like, deplatform or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, dude, you lied to so many people, alright? You lied to KitTheSoulless, you lied to Ashley Zoe Fox, you lied to the furry fandom community. You basically threw a bunch of people under the bus. Majira Strawberry did not stand by Kero the Wolf when all of this began. Majira Strawberry pretty much dropped him like a hot potato. Maybe they're talking privately in the back rooms of, like, Discord and Telegram or something such, but I have no idea. What I will say is that, like, there were very mixed reactions from the community at the best of times when all of this first began. How did this all first begin again? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. There was a guy called Venus is a Bun, aka Mordecai, and he found a particular cache of information that had been collated by a zoophile that was part of a particular chat group out there of a community dedicated to zoo sadism called Beasties. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's been a couple years, so forgive me. And, like, after that whole thing, like, he dumped it on Twitter, probably the most, I don't know, aggressive move he could have made, to be honest with you. Venus is a Bun faded fairly quickly from public view. What all people could talk about at that point from now on was Kiro the Wolf's guilt or innocence. You had people white knighting for Kiro the Wolf. You had people basically condemning him to, like, furry hell. They wanted him out of the fandom. They wanted him, like, completely gone, canceled, kaput, Zippo, done. And, like, as far as, like, other reactions go, some people were more reasonable about it later. I would like to think that in my initial, like, covering of, like, the events as I knew them to be, I was fairly objective at the time. You know, I had no reason to condemn Kiro the Wolf over anybody else at the time, because I was still parsing the information. The biggest indicator for Kiro the Wolf's guilt, to me, was the correlation of evidence that had some credence and credibility versus his actions online. His behavior in the Ashley Zoe Fox interview. His responses to KitTheSoulless in the KitTheSoulless interview. Alright, so what correlation does all of this play into his most recent video? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that the synopsis was that Kiro the Wolf basically stated, hey, I'm innocent, okay, the police came to my home, they investigated me, alright, I was found innocent, okay, and, like, the haters can keep hating me, alright, and KitTheSoulless kept trying to bully me into saying certain things that I didn't want to say, that I wasn't guilty of, and, like, Ashley Zoe Fox tried to help me, but he didn't, and no, he didn't really mention that Ashley Zoe Fox thing, but, like, he did just mention, like, a bunch of, like, stuff. He showed a clip of somebody, like, basically with programming knowledge changing the chat logs from like, you know, Kiro the Wolf to, like, Wilhelm Scream, and the problem with that is that the particular screen caps that were collated had a very specific signature to them. Not signature as in visually that you could see them. I'm talking about, like, their makeup. If you, like, sort of you right-clicked on them, you looked at the whole program thing, and these were, like, actual genuine screen caps that somebody would, like, take. And the overall flow of the conversations is very natural. Like, it's something that you can conceivably see two furries doing. I don't think anybody out there has their time, patience, or wherewithal to spend, like, all of this time collating 2 years of a conversation just to smear a lesser Majira Strawberry online, alright? It's just not worth your time. If you want to argue at that point with me, you be my guest, but I'm just going to shrug my shoulders and say you're wasting your time, okay? Because my mind's made up. That is my bias coming out, alright? Given everything I know now, given everything I've seen, like, I am fully convinced that Kiro the Wolf is, like, absolutely guilty of at least, like, half of the allegations that have been levied against him. As far as, like, zoophilia, bestiality, zoo sadism, and, like, you know, basically some other, like, you know, basically engaging in necrophilia, alright? That's what I'm convinced he's guilty of. What I'm not convinced he's guilty of at all is pedophilia, which is something more Snake Thing was known for, but we're not going to be talking about him in this video. Okay, just overall, Kiro the Wolf's presentation, it was confident, but to the excess that it was smug. It felt a little bit smug, alright? Like, how brazen that he would just regurgitate this, like, what he was saying to us, and, like, acting like we would all just be like, oh, okay, well, I guess that figures. Because I'm certainly not satisfied with his response, and I think I was more pissed off by KitTheSoulless's, like, video, basically piggybacking on Kero the Wolf's return video. KitTheSoulless basically tried to make this feel good, like, hey, there's too much hate in the fandom, we need to scale it back and reduce the hate, you're contributing to the hate, and, like, we need to come together as a fandom to facilitate love, appreciation for all, enjoyment. And that video just made me want to puke, okay? Like, how artificially, like, family friendly, hey, let's all hold together, like, hold each other's hands together and hug, sing kumbaya. Fuck that, dude. Like, seriously. Kero the Wolf, dude. Like, you could have handled this so much better, alright? You could have been guilty, but the fandom would have had more respect for you in your response to us, alright? You have made a mockery of not only yourself, but, like, everyone's collective intelligence. And I'm going to go ahead and say, like, how this sort of timeline started. Okay, so, like, prior to Kiro the Wolf actually, like, the chat logs being public knowledge, Kiro the Wolf had basically staged, like, a particular event where, you know, he freaked out on Twitter. Or at least he pretended to freak out. Realistically, I read, like, what he was saying, and I was not convinced, alright? He basically took to Twitter and was like, oh god, guys, my Telegram's been hacked. What's going on, guys? I'm scared. Fuck off, Kiro. An actor you are not, even in text, and that was pretty piss-poor attempt to, like, mask what was happening. Kiro the Wolf, it seems like he knew the chat logs were going to get dumped, along with whatever material that was, like, uncovered by this mysterious individual that Mordecai, I believe. Venus is a Bun, to clarify, by the way, is, like, a separate individual, I believe. Mordecai is, like, this mysterious guy that, like, was a zoophile, part of that Zoosadist Telegram group, and dumped the information to begin with. But Kiro the Wolf, like, he made that Twitter post, like, about his Telegram getting hacked, like, days before it became public knowledge that all of this material was just floating around out there. Kiro the Wolf tried to say that the credibility of that individual, the zoophile guy, like the zoophilia guy, was, like, in question. Yeah, okay, like, that's fine. Like, okay, you can question his credibility, but let's question his motives first. What was the motive of this particular individual? Okay, so from what I remember, his reasoning for dumping all this information and making it public knowledge was the simple fact that he engaged only in zoophilia. He had a love for animals. He would engage in sexual activity with animals. He was angry that the zoosadists that had moved into that particular community were, like, purposefully abusing animals and to derive, like, sexual pleasure from that activity. And he was so disgusted by the idea of that he collected all this material to post and, like, make it online. Was that the best way of going about it? I guess not, but, like, imagine if you had participated in a murder and everyone makes, like, a pact. It's like, hey, we're not going to go to the cops about this, okay? We're going to keep this to ourselves. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. And you get second thoughts about, you know, what's happening, because maybe the person that you killed because you really felt like they deserved it, but you feel like the motivations of the other people that engaged in the murder did it for the pleasure, the thrill of the kill. So you feel bad, and you want to tell somebody because you want to see these people get punished, but you can't come to the police yourself, otherwise you're going to be, like, an accomplice. I know it's a very roundabout way of me, like, creating some sort of metaphorical situation about all this, but, like, bear in mind, I'm a little bit frazzled by like a quite active week of work. And as you know, maybe I'm not, like, being as professional as I could be about all this. But, like, after everything I've experienced so far, like, fuck that noise. I'm just gonna come out and, like, say it like it is. Alright, so, like, I created that metaphorical situation. The zoophilia guy, he disappeared long before the chat logs, like, were public knowledge, alright? Just to clarify. To my knowledge, he has not come out publicly to confirm or deny anything. He just basically dumped the information and ran away. It's entirely possible he could be somebody in the furry fandom right now, somebody that you know, somebody that's just, you know, basically has a double identity, created a temporary identity to make the dump in the first place, and then reverted back to the identity that the public knows them as. It's a possibility, but so anyway, they do that, and everyone knows the cat's out of the bag, and Kero the Wolf, he began deleting content, and like, he deleted his chat logs. He claims that, like, he was hacked by Iranian super hackers, because, you know, Iranian super hackers, like, really want your information, alright? Like, you specifically as a furry. They really want to see, like, your furry pornography, maybe because it's banned in Iran and it's, like, so rare, that they want something a little different, you know? Like, you know, being sexually repressed, they need something to get their jollies off, and, you know, they took interest in Kero the Wolf. Unfortunately, I don't think they found what they wanted. Alright, I'm just taking the piss here. Okay, so, like, the screen caps that Kero the Wolf had actually posted to Twitter, like, when he was being hacked, the screen caps themselves, like, people that were more tech-savvy than I, they pointed out that the screen caps had no relation to one another. Like, there was very marginal relation to each other. If the traffic patterns, like, the internet traffic patterns, like, what's encapsulated inside of, like, those screen caps could be believed, they're unrelated. I know how VPNs work. VPNs basically mask your IP address so that it can make it appear as though you're at, like, either half across the state, half across the country, in another country entirely, half across the world, who knows, but Kiro the Wolf claims that he used that, but he turned it off for some reason, and then, like, turned it back on. I don't know what he was trying to, like, accomplish with that, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say that, like, the tech-savvy people were pretty quick to, like, pounce on that and basically say, dude, this is some fucking bullshit. And Kero the Wolf basically admitted that he pulled the screen caps off of, like, you know, Google and offered them up to Twitter for effect. Why he felt the need to do that, if he was, like, hypothetically innocent, is questionable at best. But, okay. If that's what he wants to go with, fine, whatever. But, like, I don't think Iranian super hackers have any interest in, like, furry accounts or, like, whatever furry porn happens to be on there. You know, like, it's just not a thing. Okay, so, like, the chat logs themselves, I already covered that nobody's gonna have the fucking time and wherewithal to, like, fake a conversation between two furries in a private Telegram message for, like, years at a time, okay? Like, it's just not gonna happen. Even the most dedicated troll out there, they're not gonna be able to pull it off. And, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say right now, if you look at the chat logs themselves, Kiro the Wolf, his mannerisms and his shitty, like, spelling is evident in a lot of the things that he types. Even his, like, you know, characteristic arf arf when he, like, tries to initiate conversation, that's pretty prominent in, like, several areas. And, like, what's even more damning about the chat logs themselves is that he makes direct reference to Coda. And, like, you know, feels really bad about how Coda died. And feels like he's directly responsible for it. Even Mr. Medicare, like, out there, like, he was savage in his delivery, but I can definitely lend credence to some of the things he was saying when, like, I read the same exact chat log, but in his voice. How, like, Kiro the Wolf was getting all teary-eyed about how Coda died. Coda, if you don't know, is Kiro the Wolf's dog. I mentioned him a little bit before in the video here, but Kiro the Wolf tried to pass him off as his boyfriend, as a euphemism, because, like, I guess he had sexual interest in Coda. I don't know to what extent he abused the dog, but I would say fairly. But anyway, you know, Kiro, after Coda died, he felt responsible. I believe Coda died from intestinal cancer, but I'm not entirely sure, like rectal cancer. I know it was something involving below the midsection, alright? And it was just so lurid, the way that Snake Thing was reassuring him. And it's like, it's okay, he's looking down at you from heaven. It's like, he's happy that you're happy, and it's like, ugh! Sorry for that sound effect, but like, oh my god. I've seen enough things I would like eye bleach to just like pour directly into my eye sockets and possibly eviscerate any possibility of seeing things at the back of my head, but I know that would be a futile effort. Even though it's been like 2 years since I actually looked at the material. Whew. I would not recommend for the faint of heart. I'm going to go ahead and play a clip right here about how I felt about that. You know, it's just one of those things, you know? It's one of those things. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back on topic. I'm sorry about the rambly, like, odds and ends of this video. I'll try to make something more, I guess, concise, but this is really for the people that want to hear the whole thing. Because, like, I guess I'm in the mood to talk about the whole thing. Alright, so Kero the Wolf died. Like, there's a lot of references in the chat logs themselves that correlate with Kero the Wolf's rise to fame. Like, mention of projects and, like, video editing and things like that. I'm not saying it's impossible that some other furry YouTuber out there that's, like, got no name is, like, not possible to be, like, referenced, but at the same time, it's like, come on. Kero the Wolf was a rising star, okay? He had a lot of passion, he had a lot of things going for him, and for him to fall from fair graces, like, that's a lot of clout to walk away from, alright? That's a lot to walk away from. Okay, so, like, that all happened. The community, there was sort of like an interim period where the community was relatively divided, like 50-50. Just as many people thought Kero the Wolf was guilty as just as enough people thought he was innocent. But, like, pretty soon after the KitTheSoulless interviews hit, after the Ashley Zoe Fox interviews hit, after a lot of back and forth between Kero the Wolf and Kero the Wolf's increasing reticence to make any formal statements whatsoever as to, like, what he was doing or any answers as to the allegations that was levied before him, the community very quickly started to, like, see inconsistencies in, like, the responses that he gave to KitTheSoulless and the inconsistencies to the responses he gave to Ashley Zoe Fox. And I'll go ahead and say right now, KitTheSoulless' interview was more like a chat conversation on, like, I believe it was Telegram. It was in text only, okay? It's not quite the same as, like, maybe hypothetically me interviewing Kero the Wolf, like, you know, over a voice. You don't get a sense of the emotions. You don't get a sense. You get a lot of tone deaf, like, responses on some things. You get a lot of sort of, like, you know, I guess it would be considered ambivalence. Like, you wouldn't know if they're being hot or cold in their delivery on something. Maybe something was lost in translation. There's a lot of, I always prefer, if I'm dealing with drama, to engage, like, in, like, actual voice, so that you can get a feel for the other person, maybe get a sense of if they're nervous about something, or if they're being guarded about something, or maybe if they're lying about something. But some people are better actors than others, so it's important to bear that all in mind. But yeah, so you have all this happen, and eventually, like, after everything was said and done, Kero the Wolf's, like, name was dragged through the mud. A lot of people, I will just completely go ahead and say this, like, a lot of people acted irrationally in reference to Kero the Wolf. They were attacking him, sending him death threats, like, you know, doing a lot of threatening behavior, which is something I don't like seeing, because, you know, what are you gonna do? Like, you're not law enforcement, and you're not, like, the overriding authority here. You can take all this information I'm relaying to you, and maybe know that if you're going to be talking to Kero the Wolf, maybe you should, like, protect yourself, okay? Keep yourself guarded. Maybe not engage with Kero the Wolf if you don't like the things that he's guilty of. Or allegedly guilty of, if you want to go that direction. I don't know. He basically left a teary-eyed message, which is where things left off for a while. I made a video about it. Kero the Wolf leaves the furry fandom. And like I said before, he basically blamed everybody else but himself, threw everybody else under the bus but himself, and kept repeating the phrase, "I am innocent," because a lie repeated 1,000 times is surely going to move somebody and convince them that you're absolutely telling the truth, even though you're a fucking liar, and that, boom, God himself almighty would shock you dead in your tracks with a lightning bolt. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened. But it's not like I want him to come to harm, like physical harm. It'd just be funny if it was like a cartoon where, like, you know, somebody acts like they're going to win one over the system and they get shocked by God. And they're just, like, sitting there, like Daffy Duck style, like the singes and just staring at the camera. Anyway, I don't know, mention, like, some other things that he mentioned in his video. And I'll play some clips here. Hopefully I don't get DMCA'd. If I do get DMCA'd, then you will definitely see a revised copy of this, and maybe a act, like, basically summarizing some of the things he said. He tried to act like all of those chat logs were fake, and we already talked about how you're not going to fake that. Like, no one's going to spend the time and effort to fake that. He basically said that, like, because the police didn't arrest him and they had been, like, investigated, that he was completely innocent, which is not true. He basically threw KitTheSoulless under the bus in that, like, video. Like, he basically said, he, like, very dismissively brushed KitTheSoulless aside and said, like, that interview, if you can call it that, wasn't really an interview. He kept trying to pressure me to say things that weren't true. And it's like, damn, dude. I know KitTheSoulless fell from graces for his, like, his philosophies on certain things, but we're not going to get into that right now. But, like, mostly, it's just, like, how Kero the Wolf tried to say that all the material, like, the photos of, like, that guy fucking a deer, like, that was, like, because that was proven to be false, like, he's completely innocent. And the issue here is, like, I don't think many people were denying the fact that that dude fucking a deer, turned out to be some German dude, by the way, but we're not going to talk about that now. Like, there was no doubts in people that actually knew who Kiro the Wolf was, that wasn't Kiro the Wolf, because Kiro the Wolf didn't have, like, the tattoos and shit like that did. And, like, if you look at the facial structure, there's no resemblance, like, at all. Nobody was disputing that is the issue. Like, at least, like, more modern day. Back in the day, people didn't really know what Kiro the Wolf looked like under his fursuit, so, they jumped to raging conclusions, but I can go ahead and say, like, that's not the issue here. Alright, the issue is your shady behavior, that anytime that anything remotely incriminating that was pointed out by the community, you would rush to delete, and you would act like it never existed. Because if you delete something online, it's gone for good, and nobody can correlate it back to you. In fact, that turned out to be false, because Kiwi Farms, if you happen to ever learn of such a name for a website, Kiwi Farms, I will, like, definitely admit, they're basically a troll website. Their whole, like, mantra is basically picking on furries and any other people, like, on the World Wide Web that they can poke fun at. But, like, to my knowledge, they don't really seem to be the type of people that would go out of their way to harass somebody. Now, they would definitely put material online that would be a platform for people with ill intent to arrest people with, but they seem more content to just, be the hecklers at the back of the room poking fun at people and being very politically incorrect and saying some very off-the-wall shit. I personally don't really have a problem with that, strangely enough. Like, I don't like the idea of online censorship, alright? I'm not going to get into the whole debate of, like, do I think pornography should be censored? Like, there are avenues that people of the right age can get to material that they want, alright? But, by and large, I don't believe in the whole censorship thing. So, like, he tried to discredit all of Kiwi Farms and said that everything that they had poured over, everything they accumulated, everything that they had, like, talked about was completely irrelevant and factually inconclusive, which, in some degrees, yes, in some degrees, no. And there have been, like, several defenders on YouTube that would try to defend Kiro the Wolf and try to say that he was absolutely innocent. In fact, there was this one dude that I can't help but feel like he's a dumb fuck. He basically comes out and says, hey, like, this evidence is compelling, but not, well, this evidence is, like, fairly good, but not very compelling. Alright, is it one or the other? Is it good? Or, like, how is it good, but not compelling, is my question. Like, it's good evidence, it's just not very compelling. Like, what? What? Like, I'm just, like, taking the piss here, honestly, but, like, still, it just, the more I think about this, talking about it right now, in this rambly-ass video, the more, like, I guess, outraged I'm getting at how people have talked about this, either from YouTube, Kiro the Wolf himself, friends of Kiro the Wolf, or his supporters. And I'm more amazed by the fact that he had 33 patrons. He was making like $800 there for a while. I am wondering who these patrons are. like that are still supporting him, but like diehard fans in the wool, dyed in the wool Kiro fans. All right. Kiwi Farms, I wouldn't take everything that they say like to heart. Like I wouldn't like consider them to be a factually like fact-checked sort of like, you know, Associated Press sort of like past like journalism, but they don't really have a reason to make shit up. Like even they, like when they're talking to each other, people will like haze and attack other people like verbally for like saying things that are blatantly untrue. They're more interested in the truth and making judgments from there, at least in what I've seen. Like, you can freely disagree with me, but like it's absolutely a dickish way of like reporting the quote-unquote news or information, and there's definitely a bias there. But at the same time, like I don't feel like they have anything really to gain from like, you know, factually misleading people to Kero the Wolf's guild. Kero the Wolf kind of did that already with his own behavior. Like, he didn't really need outside help for that. Like, all you needed to do was to look at his, like, Twitter messages, how he was responding on social media, how he was responding in his YouTube videos. Well, more specifically, the Cathorix. The Cathorix video, when he talked, like, in text to Cathorix, and in the video with Ashley Zoe Fox. Like, that was most damning for me. This most recent one, like, damn. I will give credit where credit is due. He definitely came out to say something, which is more ballsy than I could say for a lot of people that fall from fair grace and have basically been canceled. But at the same time, it didn't make me feel any better. Like, it just made me feel like, what? Who is saying that the people in the picture, like, is you at this point in the game? Like, it's been 2 years. Like, who is saying that now? Like, in good faith and confidence. Who? And just, like, casting doubt as to the credibility of, like, that one dude. Like, okay, whatever. Like, if you want to cast doubt on him for being a zoophile himself, fine. But his motivations seem to be pretty clear as to why he did it and why we'd have a reason to do it. He didn't... And those are, like, real screen caps, by the way. That's not, like, just shit that somebody put together in, like, Photoshop and stuff like that. I understand that Photoshop, if you put enough time to it, you can make some very, like, believable documentation and, like, you know, screen caps. But at the same time, like, just the sheer volume of material to go through and how organic it all feels, no one's gonna want to just sit down and, like, collate all this. Who's gonna have access to the material? Like, when's the last time that you picked roadkill off the road and took it into your house for, like, a photo op to make it seem like it was part of some, like, bizarre sex dungeon or, like, area or, like, place where people are having fun? It just boggles the mind. If I'm forgetting anything, I'll definitely append this video and try to, like, add and just be like, oh, wait, I forgot about something. But by and large, Kiro the Wolf's back. If you're a fan of his, I'm not going to tell you not to watch it, but I will say that he's definitely a sick fuck and abused his dog, fucked animals, and did a lot of shady shit, like, you know, and tried to cover it up. And his behavior is the strongest indicator that he has something to hide and is guilty of at least some of the allegations that have been levied against him. And there's not a whole lot that's going to change my mind at this point. I wouldn't mind having a discussion about it with somebody that was, like, reasonable and level-headed, but at the same time, it's like, it's been 2 years. Like, who's going to want to talk about it at this point? In fact, like, Kero the Wolf's legacy now is basically his constantly dodging of the questions and the perception by the furry community that he's basically a zoophilic fuck that honestly should leave the fandom. He should have stayed gone. Alright. Now that he's back, I certainly won't be, like, you know, rolling out the burgundy welcome mat and, like, you know, shaking his hand or nothing. But I'm also not going to be chasing him down on the street throwing potatoes at him either. Hey, maybe he'll make a comeback. Like, if he does, good for him. I'm not going to get in his way, but I'm certainly not going to help his rise to prominence. I'm going to more or less, like, internalize the information I already know and basically bear that in mind whenever I hear the wolf. And anytime I see him, like, in a video, or I hear his name mentioned by people around me. that is just something that I'm going to bear, because, like, damn, if you saw, like, half the shit that I saw, you probably want, like, eye bleach for your own eyes, too. Like, spare you all the details. I already mentioned quite a bit of incriminating stuff in this video. I will try to add, like, better forewarning and maybe, like, add euphemisms for things like other YouTubers have. But I'm advertising in my videos, and I'm such a small-time YouTuber that this is purely a hobby for me, alright? So, and I'm also very anti-censorship. So, fuck you, YouTube. I'm gonna say what I want. Anyway, by the way, YouTube, thank you for having me on your platform. I just think that some of the, like, policies and procedures and terms of service that you've established are a little bit dumb, outdated, and are basically only helping the select few of YouTubers on your platform. But otherwise, you know, pretty good platform. I'd like, you know, 5 out of 10. I'd eat there again. Probably when I was hungover drunk after, like, 4 Niccolo Ultras at 3 a.m. Alright. So what can I really say about all this? Alright, so, like, KitTheSoulless, I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, I lost a lot of respect for the guy. Like, there was a time where I actually watched his videos, you know, they were good to listen to in the background. I'd listen to them, you know, sort of like, I'd actually agree with him on, like, a good many things. It's just that more recently, in more recent years, KitTheSoulless has shown sort of bias in, like, defending zoophiles, alright? Kero the Wolf being a big one. I remember there was something that he said in another video that really kind of made me go, huh? But, like, this last one, the video itself, it's not like rage-inducing or anything like that, but it is, like, the way he went about it, like, trying to put on this, like, heartwarming, feel-good, hey, let bygones be bygones, just, like, you know, let's facilitate hope, love, and peace for a better furry fandom future. And I just wanted to fucking, like, smash the video into a million pieces. It definitely gave me diabetes, alright? Like, Wilford Brimley's gonna be coming back to life any day now, knocking on my door and saying, like, I got diabetes. Check your blood pressure, check it off, and why, give me a Philly shove steak sandwich, or I'll shove my hand in your mouth and assimilate you. Here, Liberty Mutual, there's something I gotta tell you. I like corn dogs. But anyway, apart from all that, like, it just... KitTheSoulless is definitely showing a bias in favor of helping, like, at least Kero the Wolf. I remember another video where he basically gave benefit of the doubt to, like, someone else that was questionable at the very least, and he keeps doing this in the name of fighting cancel culture. That he thinks, like, cancel culture is the worst thing ever, and that we should just, like, not react at all to anything that happens. Now, I'm not saying that you should, like, grab your metaphorical pitchforks and, like, torches and take to the streets, attacking who you think is guilty. That's not how it works. But at the same time, like, just because you were proven in a court of law, like, hell, I can't even say that. Just because the legal justice system at the investigational level, the lowest level, because your parents didn't, like, you know, allow or cooperate with the police to let them search the premises, number one. Number two, like, just because basically you cherry-picked what evidence that you could, like, discredit very easily doesn't make you fucking innocent, Kero. And, like, the sooner that you can sort of get back to the whole, like, you know, maybe not acknowledging any of this happening, maybe just, like, not insulting our collective intelligence, the less shit the fandom will probably give you for it, you know? I personally would have respected Kero the Wolf a lot more if he had just been honest from day one and just came out and just said, hey, like, okay, I was in this chat room for this amount of time and I did stuff. I'm sorry, alright? I'm a sick fuck, but, you know, if you guys can just accept that, I will try to, like, keep myself on the straight and narrow from now on. Like, I would have respected him, like, a lot more if that had happened. But no. What pissed me off about Kero the Wolf is that he constantly would assert his innocence in spite of the fact that there was evidence shoved in his face. He would ignore, like, evidence to address that was potentially harmful for him, like the whole house tour video. And he would selectively pick evidence that had been proposed early on and discredit anything that was, like, low-lying fruit. But yeah, where do we go from here? Well, hey, like I said before, Kiro the Wolf's back. He's going to be making videos again. He's probably going to be another fixture. What was worrisome for me is that he's got still a very big following. People that are willing to support him no matter what he's allegedly guilty of or what he's, been proven guilty of in the court of public opinion. The legal justice system, it never got to a public court hearing, so that's never going to be seen due to the statute of limitations and things that the community did that did not help the investigation. I think it actually made a lot of evidence inadmissible in the court of law. So what I think happened is a prosecutor kind of looked at all that and was just like, dude, there's no way we're going to be able to, at this point, with so many people touching all this stuff, we're not going to be able to, conclusively, prove, point of origin and correlation. And so, it remains to be seen what's going to happen. But, yeah, he's going to be making videos again. He's going to be a fixture here on YouTube. After the recording of this video, if I remember anything else, I will pen this video and add it in, so pardon any jump cuts that happen either before or after this particular point. A lot of my videos, I like to just sit here without jump cuts and try to pontificate and, basically, ramble my way through, a topic of interest. I understand it's very rambly, but this is, really the type of video, if you just want to zone out or you want to listen to the nitty-gritty and listen to some cheeky commentary along the way. If you want, I could make a video that's a lot more condensed that goes right to the action about, everything that I was thinking about. But this is, an initial reaction to everything, all right? I wasn't expecting today, 3 hours after the fact, that I would look at my YouTube and see Kero the Wolf, returns. Goddamn. That was not something I was expecting today. And I actually unsubscribed from KitTheSoulless because of the video he made in relation to Kiro the Wolf's return, because I can't help but feel he was being disingenuous in his overall message. Either he was looking out for the greater good, or he thinks he's helping a bad situation with the furry fandom. I will freely admit that cancel culture is a phenomena, is a very destructive force, and causes a lot of furries to basically respond to a situation irrationally and to such a degree that nothing can really be discussed. It's like a witch hunt at the very onset of it happening. But at the same time, that doesn't give you carte blanche to lie, deny, delete material, and feign ignorance after the fact. I believe very strongly that people should be held responsible for their actions, and that honesty is the best. Honesty is generally the best policy in most engagements here. And if you're not ready to talk about something, that's fine. Maybe you just tell people, hey, I'm not ready to talk about this right this minute. Can I have some time to myself to reflect on all this, get back to you? I think that's reasonable for certain things that happen, out in the furry fandom. If you were sexually assaulted, or maybe, certain things have happened to you that, you're a victim and you need some time to collect your thoughts, maybe seek therapy or things like that. But in Kiro the Wolf's case, he's not the victim here, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and say. I don't think that the death threats and, threatening behavior slung against him was the right course of action, but, I definitely feel like he should have been held responsible to the degree that he would actually come out and say something substantive to, the rest of us, to at least acknowledge that he knows that we know what we know, and what we know, the house tour thing and, the chat logs. And there are a lot of people out there that poured over all material that was available, for hours on end to see the correlations as they played out. And all of this behavior and activity has led to arrests, in the past, Snake Thing. He went to jail not too long after the chat logs were released to the public. And again, I'm not going to go into the details of him. I can talk about it in a separate video, but for right now, I'm just going to say that he was a part of the BCBCBC's chat room and was engaging in very unspeakably horrific behavior in real life. But there was a guy in Cuba. He was arrested but let go because the Cubans didn't have animal cruelty laws on the books at the time. So yeah, you mean to tell me that the people that Kero the Wolf was associating with, all these questionable people, He not only denies that he engaged with them, but that he would actually, just say that he's completely innocent of all this. I remember very distinctively now. It's coming to me. Like, he went back and forth as to the authenticity of the chat logs. He admitted that, like, 5, maybe 10% of the chat logs were real, but most of it was fake, which is fucking bullshit because all the chat logs look pretty much the same if you look at them. Sure, the size difference might be, like, bigger or smaller slightly, but that just speaks to, like, if you're looking at, like, the screen capture tool, you're not going to get, like a feature perfect, like, size per, like, screen cap. It's going to be based on your mouse click when you drag and drop. And, like, so that's a no-brainer right there. And, like, the compression that people were, like, talking about made it look fake. I believe that's actually a natural thing that happens if you tried it yourself. Anyway, whatever. I think I'd like cover this subject sufficiently. So I'm just going to go ahead and end the video right here and say that, Kero the Wolf, if you're a Kero the Wolf fan, maybe give him a watch or two, just see what he's all about. But, like, I would not support him circa 2021, alright? I think that his brazen, like, bold, and, quite honestly, despicably weasel-like behavior, like, deserves to be remembered as him being a ne'er-do-well that should probably not be in the furry fandom. Like I said before, I certainly won't be shaking his hand, looking forward to speaking with him. But, at the same time, it really comes down to your all's decision on who you do and don't associate with. Because I know some people that associate with Kiro the Wolf. It boggles my mind as to why they do, but whatever, that's their decision. It's like how you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your friend's nose, alright? You are all reasonable adults or young adults, or maybe your kids. I have no idea who's watching this right now, but I want you all to take everything that you know about this whole situation. If you don't know about the situation, watch some of the earlier videos versus the more recent ones. Watch what Kiro the Wolf posted, watch what KitTheSoulless posted. Watch material that's available out there for your, viewing pleasure, and try to parse together the details and make a decision for yourself. Please do not engage in the targeted harassment, bullying, or threatening of any individuals, like, involved here, okay? That's not what I'm about. I want you to be reasonable in your engagements with other people and, just be cool. Or if I want to quote that one dumb fuck that appeared on Mr. Medicare's stream, the one thing that I picked up from that was, like, just don't. Just don't. That's my favorite quote from that whole thing. It's like, just don't. Just don't. That's like a catch-22 for everything. Like, you could use that for so many, like, situations out there. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I know it's really rambly. I'll try to be more concise and precise in my delivery from now on. But this was a very emotional take on all this because I was just, like, surprised that everything was happening as it was. So, till next time, guys, take care and peace. I hope you all have a better one.